What's up, race fans? Colin Sheehan here, back with you on Trust the Profits YouTube page. This is Doubling Down. Please like and subscribe. It does so much for the channel. Some big news in horse racing this week as Travis Kelce buys into a horse by the name of Swift Delivery. The horse was actually named after Taylor Swift. And this is really great to see. I think that getting big name athletes into the sport is where this sport can certainly grow. Look at what they did down with the New York Islanders facility in Belmont Park and the new reconstructed Belmont Park. The Islanders players go over to Belmont Park and they get into the game and they start showing each other and start talking about it. And then look what happened with Jason Worth and Dornock and the attention that he's brought into the game. And now you have not only another big athlete who's showing interest, but obviously with the dating of Taylor Swift, one of the big power couples in all of the world right now. So an excellent opportunity for the sport to be on showcase as Travis Kelce gets involved with this horse by the name of Swift Delivery, who's actually racing. Great time to get involved is the same week that the horse is racing up at Woodbine, race 9, the Toronto Cup. Here is Swift Delivery, will be number 4. RaceLens gives this horse a 22.4% chance of winning this stakes race. I brought up the past performances here for you. Patrick Husbands will be aboard, and a very capable jockey who's hitting at 22% over the last 30 days. Trained by Mark Casse, another extremely capable trainer who's also hitting at 22% over the last 30 days. So if you're new to horse racing coming in because of Kelce and Taylor Swift, here's a little bit about Swift Delivery, the dam Reagan Harper. Swift Delivery is actually the first horse out of this dam, a dam that had been racing at Prairie Meadows. The highlighted line here in red was back on April 19th at Gulfstream Park. This horse was actually entered for a maiden optional claimer, $50,000 race, finishing third with that same jockey aboard. But after that race, had one more race in the maiden special weight at Gulfstream Park. That's for horses that had not won. Moves up to Woodbine, and in June and July puts up 2 very impressive performances. One of those breaking the maiden by 16.5 lengths, and then coming back to win another allowance optional claimer for $50,000, non-winners of 2 lifetime, closing from the clouds to get to that victory, quickly passing foes. So all good. We want to keep our eye on Swift Delivery because I think it is an important story as those power names come into the sport. Not to forget that Lamar Jackson is getting interested by bringing back the Baltimore Colts, the new team in the National Thoroughbred League. So seeing those athletes only means that hopefully we will have more owners getting into the game and bringing the attention to this sport that we all love so much. This is Doubling Down. I'm going to do a daily double for you at Kentucky Downs, a track that I always have fun with the 7 days each year. Let's get to it. That's right. We're going to go to Kentucky Downs for this week's daily double ticket. Congratulations to Vinny Blonde last week, who was able to get the daily double home, paying $38. He had fierceness in the Travers with an unbelievable race with Torpedo Anna. So it's good to see that both of our horses were coming down the stretch there in the Travers, which an absolutely race for the ages, one that you will always remember. Unfortunately, Torpedo Anna just couldn't get there. But regardless, it was absolutely a great race. And we talked about on that race with Vinny how we didn't really believe in that fierceness every other race. You could make a very legitimate reason and a very legitimate case for why some of those performances by fierceness were a lot to be desired, whether it was the mud or off a long layoff or coming out of the Breeders' Cup. And fierceness stomped himself right back onto the stage for Horse of the Year in a really excellent version of the Travers Stakes. Now, we're going to turn our attention to Kentucky Downs. I wanted to give you a little sense of what it looked like last year. This is a meet of only 7 days of racing, but the purses are gigantic and the fields are huge, and it's a great betting. Many of the races are great betting opportunities. Tyler Gaffalione was your jockey last year, who walked away with the title, having 12 victories. Of course, look at the difference in starts: 71 for Tyler versus 51 for Joel Rosario, and Florent Drew 48. So 20 more races, but still hitting at about 17%. You'll see Christian Torres down there, who had a very good meet: 33 races, 5 victories, hitting around 15%. And then check out some of the trainers who had done well last year. Brendan Walsh walked away with the trainer title with 8 victories, hitting at 28.6%. You see Brian Lynch on there with 30%, hitting 3 out of 10 races. Michael Maker, another trainer who had the victories, more so second place. As you can see, the 10 second place finishes for Michael Maker. And that gives you a little sense of some of the trainers and jockey combinations that you might want to pay attention to. And the other thing is that this track is not your typical oval, and we'll see that in the past performances as we bring them up. Now, one thing, because of the configuration of the track, one angle that I thought in my head was something that I wanted to pay attention to was horses that are having more success at longer distances, cutting back on the turf. That's an angle I've played and have done well at Kentucky Downs. And so I decided to use RaceLens to run a few of the angles in my head that I thought were applicable. And the results actually weren't as good as I thought they would be. As you can see, this is very easy to do with RaceLens. I went over let's go over the last 3 years. These are horses whose last race had been at a mile, and now they're running at that 6.5, 7.5 for a long distance. Well, your win percentage is only 11%, and an ROI of -3%. So actually not as good as I was hoping I was going to see when I ran this angle. As I started going through, we have a lot of main special weights, and you even have a lot of first-time starters. So how have first-time starters done at Kentucky Downs over the last 3 years? Only winning at 7%. And that goes to show you that horses, this is a tough track to run over, and the horses that have the experience of having a couple races under the belt, not necessarily at Kentucky Downs, but at other tracks, tends to be a much better angle to pay attention to when looking at some of the races that have horses running for the first time. So not only using pedigree in those types of situations, you have a lot of horses coming in from Ellis Park. That was another angle I wanted to see. How did they do over the last 3 years? 9%. 726 starts, 9%, -22% ROI. So as I was running through some of these angles that I thought were going to help me, I did not find many of them. How about horses that have had success in the money at Kentucky Downs in the past? Because we've kind of have this theory, if horses either like or they hate the turf course at Kentucky Downs, it has a very kidney bean shaped track as opposed to your typical oval. 24 horses that were in the money at better than 50% at Kentucky Downs coming back only win at 8% as well, with a -79% ROI. And that negative ROI being so high is probably because of that fact that many people fall on that angle, that they assume horses that have done well at Kentucky Downs in the past will do well again. Here's another angle I ran. What about horses running on the dirt, going back, running a dirt route, cutting back to a sprint at Kentucky Downs over the last 3 years? That have been 77 horses to try that. Again, right in that window of 9% win percentage. So nothing really jumping off of the paper as far as angles concerned. Certainly none that I could find that in their green. We'll keep running them, and we'll see how we open up tomorrow. The last one I wanted to show you was Kentucky Downs. How about horses that had ran the mile, but then cutting back in distance, but in that last race had been more forwardly placed. So maybe that early speed is something that you want, and that does do a little bit better. You get up to 11% on the win percentage. Success scores kind of low, 4.2%. You want to see that more in the 7 or 8 range. but you do get a positive ROI, and that may lead to the theory that early speed does well at Kentucky Downs. So for this show, we're going to jump into race 2 and race 3. I'm by myself this week, but we've got some great guests coming up over the next couple of weeks. But that's okay. We'll get through here as we look at race 2 for Saturday, August 31st. This is a maiden special weight, 6 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And you can see right here on RaceLens, they give you a nice image of what this track actually looks like. So this long turn that goes into a stretch, and when you're watching it, they're actually going to cut cameras a couple times in the stretch, which can get confusing. So it's a very unique course to not only play, but also to watch. In this race 2, we'll start off with number 2, Rocky Joy. This horse I thought for sure was going to be on my ticket. What I loved here was these very consistent 95, 94, 92, 93 speed figures. Okay. I've talked about many times on this show. I want to see a horse do something not only once or twice, but many times. And that is what Rocky Joy has done. You'll see the jockey Christian Torres, a jockey who I'd mentioned in the open here as being one that's had a lot of success over the last, or at least last year, at Kentucky Downs. And one thing you'll notice as well is not only does this horse have some of that early speed that I thought would be a positive, the horse is cutting back in distance too. So had been running at 1.16 miles. Last race was a mile at Ellis Park on the turf, where it was forwardly placed and just couldn't get past the winner on that day, Sovereign's Joy. So why did I not end up using number 2, Rocky Joy? Well, the one thing I was concerned about is, to me, Kitten's Joy is a sire whose horses just love to go longer. And I didn't know that necessarily cutting back to 6 furlongs was the best move here for Rocky Joy. Kitten Joy's only hit at 9% at Kentucky Downs over the last 5 years, and that's even worse when you cut that distance down. That's 9% overall. When you cut the distance down, I think it was more like 5% maybe. And you can actually see this horse had started off sprinting. That was at Turfway on the synthetic. 6 furlongs, 6.5 furlongs, and 6 furlongs. 80, 81. Did have a nice 95 in March. But I see 2 races there where perhaps the cutback is not going to be advantageous to Rocky Joy. And at 3-1, I decided to go elsewhere. We'll start in with the number 8, because the number 8, Cape Maelstrom, is a horse who I'm very intrigued by. This would be the horse that I put up on top, who's coming in for a second time Lasix for trainer Kelce Danner and Adam Bisejo aboard. Now, Twirling Candy is hitting at 17%. Now, Twirling Candy is the sire, 17% at Kentucky Downs with a plus 92 ROI. That's even better when you get into sprints. This horse showed some speed, early speed in the debut. The trainer's 14% in the second career starts on the turf. And I want to show you how fast we can do this. So right here in the research, you can click on Twirling Candy here on RaceLens. This is giving you Twirling Candy over the past 5 years, turf sprints, 16%. Well, you can click Modify here and say, you know what? Let's filter that track to only use today's track, which would be Kentucky Downs. And we're going to apply that. And you'll see those numbers that pop up pretty quickly for horses sired by Twirling Candy running at Kentucky Downs. You get the numbers really quickly. Then you also get the list of horses. 34 starts, 8 victories. That's a 24% win percentage, a plus 122 ROI. You can click Show All really quickly and get those exact same angles for every horse in this race. And you'll see Arrogate will pop up on the top. Arrogate right here with 33%, but there's only 3 starts. So one victory is going to inflate that 33%. And right there, third with 34 starts, you have the Twirling Candy hitting at 24%. And then the other one is City of Light in between those two, only 4 starts. So you see some positives there on the 5 as well. So I'll take the 8 on top. I also thought that the 7 was interesting here. On debut, this horse at Gulfstream Park put up a speed figure of an 86. That was 6 furlongs. Now that was on the dirt, so there's, want to do some research on the turf. Well, Murakami, the dam. Look at lifetime turf sprint stats for Murakami. 8 starts and a victory with a 476 ROI. Well, when I looked into Murakami, that victory was actually at Kentucky Downs by Overthinking, September 7th of 2017 at the 6.5 furlong distance. So, it's one horse, it's one race. It's hard to say immediately that Murakami, the horse, It's My Life, is going to love Kentucky Downs because of that. But you're also getting Tyler Gaffney on board, and the late pace number 2 out of 16 to me shows that this horse has some late kick that will hopefully translate to the turf. So we'll use the 7 as well. When I cut the 2, I did not want to lose to the 5. And this horse is 4-1, trained by Wesley Ward. Wesley Ward is a trainer that is absolutely tremendous, not only on the turf, but in the shorter races as well. 6 furlongs. This horse has only been racing on the turf, was scratched out on August 1st on a race that went off of the turf up at Saratoga. So now they point him down here to a maiden special weight for $170,000. This horse was purchased for $460,000 by City of Light and has done pretty well. A couple consistent speed figures in the 80s for Beer Run. We'll keep Beer Run on the ticket with Jose Ortiz, and we will go 5, 7, 8 here in leg 1, race 2 for Saturday. Race 3 is an allowance going 6.5 furlongs. This was a race where the experience at Kentucky Downs is actually, if you like that angle, one that you have a couple of options. Sousa Summer ran a 3rd place at Kentucky Downs. The 4, Arrest Me Red, has run twice over this surface with a 3rd place finish, trained by Wesley Ward. The 5 has raced twice with a 2nd place. The 6 has raced once with a 3rd place. The number 7 one-timer has raced twice with a victory and a 2nd place. And Front Run the Fed, a horse whose name does not give you any hints on the way this horse likes to run, because he's generally pretty far off for Front Run the Fred. He's raced here 4 times with a 2nd place finish as well. The 1, 2, and 9 have not. I landed on the number 7 one-timer as the horse I want to take a shot on. Does have that victory over this surface. He did that last year. 2 years ago, September 10th, putting up a 107 in a grade 2 stakes race, beating previously mentioned Run Curtis Run. He drew off in that race, winning by 4 lengths. And since then, very consistent. 2 more victories, 2 2nd places, and a 3rd. Has shown some early speed, an angle that we've talked about wanting to pay attention to. And I also like the fact that, we talked about that victory in 22, took some time off, comes back and runs 3 races prior to running as a very close 2nd at Kentucky Downs, only lost that next victory by a head to Gear Jockey. Then comes out at Hawthorne on July 28th for the first race off the bench this year. Goes 5 furlongs is the pace of that race before giving it up to mischievous Rogue. I think you get some consistency here. This is the favorite of the race, morning line favorite. So I'm not going to spread. I'm going to single to the 7 here, one-timer. There was definitely arguments to be made. Stiletto Boy has one race over the turf. Primarily been running out west on the dirt, switching back to the turf. So there's some question marks there. Sousa Summer with Bill Mott and Tyler Gaffney aboard. The speed figures to me has to get back to what was doing last year up at Saratoga. And Arrest Me Red, a horse that had been running in grade 1, grade 2 company, even running in the turf sprint with no balls on Derby Day last year. a very consistent horse here who's put up triple-digit speed figures many times. Can't blame me for going for someone like Arrest Me Red. But when it came down to making a decision, the price of 2-1 forced me to either fade or use one-timer. I looked at the RaceLens True odds, and it shows you the 4, 6, and 7, Mischievous Rogue, Arrest Me Red, and one-timer, all in that 18 to 25% range. Lets you know that this is probably a pretty open race where you could have an opinion. You just have to press that opinion because of what the price will be. So our ticket for Saturday, August 31st for Kentucky Downs will be 578 with the 7. It'll only cost you $3 for this daily double. Hopefully we can get, I'm pretty confident about that first leg. Obviously the second leg, anytime you single is cause for concern. But I think you have a pretty close leg there too, where you could go multiple options, which has my confidence wavering a little bit, but we'll see if we can get it home. Put in the comments how you play Kentucky Downs. Are there angles that you look at? We can check them out on RaceLens to see if they are positive or negative, and also throw in there what your daily double ticket will be for Kentucky Downs. Please like and subscribe. I'm Colin Sheehan. Good luck, everybody, in your bets this weekend.